Hello, my name is Rachel. I am a mother, a knitter, a crocheter. I am also a teacher, and today I wanted to try to refilm this particular video. I had made this video initially over the weekend, and it did not go well due to a variety of reasons. Number one being my children, who wanted to come upstairs and tell me multiple times that they were hungry for lunch, even though it was only 10. Then I had another interruption around someone said something that bothered the other one, and I needed to address it, and yada, yada, yada. So anyone who has a child or a fur baby at home is probably well aware of the various moments of when they like to interrupt you. So I am filming this in the evening time after everyone has gone to bed, which naturally they're going to hear my voice and they might come and interrupt this video again. But I really wanted to do this recording because I wanted to talk about excess, and I also wanted to talk more about the benefits and joys of knitting. Um, So you have to forgive me. I might clear my throat a few times. I am recovering from pneumonia. I had unexpectedly found out that the reason why I had this long-term cough and horrible cough, long-term cold, horrible cough, was due to the fact that I had pneumonia. So I was very surprised when the doctor said that. I was like, nope. She said yes. I'm like, oh, okay. And I thankfully bought my Tunisian crochet project with me. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about the projects I'm working on. I do not have the Tunisian crochet project with me physically at the moment because I left that at work. That is my work project as a teacher. I have to sit through quite a few meetings that don't require any note taking, but for me just to listen and to internalize the information that's being shared. And for me, I decided to start bringing my knitting and my crochet with me because I found that I'm much more engaged with what's being shared or presented with me. But one project I wanted to share that's going to be a new work knit as soon as I finish the Tunisian crochet Lamana wrap is another Jason cashmere hat. Now, this is probably my third or fourth Jason cashmere hat, and I absolutely love the pattern. It's really well written. It's very clear about what next steps you have to take, and it actually works up really well. And if you're pretty good at making like slight modifications, or if you would like to learn how to make modifications, this is a really good pattern to try that out on, because even if you're working with a yarn that's not quite that weight, you can pretty much start to estimate how much you should cast on in order to successfully engage with the free pattern. As long as you understand how many stitches you'll need in order to make the cables and the braid. So I am using a yarn that I randomly found on Instagram. I was perusing around and this woman had posted, I can't find the original, but anyway, this woman had posted pictures of her yarn that she dyes that's on her Etsy. And I was like, oh, that is cute. And so I don't know how to pronounce her name. So I'm going to just put the tag right there. So hopefully you can see that. The skein that you see on your camera, not very well, mind you. Let me bring it back a little bit. Sorry, the joys of doing this at night. With this particular skein in itself, the one I have in my hand is called Kaleidoscope. With this, for fingering weight, you get 400 meters of yarn, 100% pure merino wool, superwash, and I can honestly say it is very soft and squishy. It's beautiful, and it's hand dyed. I know it's not showing up well here, but there's little polka dots everywhere. Let's see. Trying to my lighting is really bad right now, but I really, really liked it. I was really excited to give it a try because she had such a sweet post on her Instagram, and I'm a huge fan of giving small businesses my support. And so I ended up buying a fingering weight version as well as the worsted weight. And what I'm working with right now is the worsted weight version of it, and it's just as she's promised, well dyed, well squishy, and I'm absolutely enjoying it. And the Jason cashmere hat, this is a free pattern on a website, and if I remember, as long as there's no interruptions and everything goes smoothly with this upload, I will definitely include that in the description, because it is a really great way to learn how to do cables and other little fun little intricate things if it's your first time making that type of pattern. Another pattern I wanted to talk about that I fell in love with, that's also dealing with the yarn acquisition, is this black garter stitch scarf I am making. Now I knew, yeah, buddy. Yes. So this was this is an example of excess. So I have been saying yes to everyone, every single person that's like, oh, can you make me something? I'm like, yes, of course. And I've been volunteering my hands to knit or crochet various people in my life, some type of object, whether it's a blanket or a lovey or sweater or a hat. And I love it. This is how I justify the large quantity of yarn that I have, especially in the beginning of my knitting journey. I felt so bad about the expense of the yarn that I wanted to make up for it by giving away the items. Because for me, especially in the beginning, I really enjoyed the process of knitting. I was so proud of myself and the work that I was able to accomplish with my two bare hands. And so I just wanted just to have that joy. And it really, truly brings me joy to knit something for someone, especially someone who is actually going to use the item that I'm making for them, that's going to actually wear it or give it to their child to interact with. So there are definitely a few people in my life where I'm like, if you're having another baby, sure, I'm going to make you a blanket, even though you didn't ask me to. Well, this situation is slightly different. I love to make things for my students, especially my students who work as my teacher assistant. At the school that I work at, we allow our juniors as well as our seniors to volunteer as teacher assistants. And in class, they help out with teaching a lesson, classroom management, classroom support, as well as grading and just being a good thought partner. And it really depends on which student you have. And this year, I really lucked out. I have two amazing young people who are working with me, who've had me in the past as students. And they're both doing such a great job. And I really wanted to express my gratitude for them, especially now that the semester is coming to an end and our time together is coming to an end. And I'd like to offer them something. And so since they're seniors, I wanted to make them something that's going to keep them warm and snuggly, because both of them are most likely going to stay in a New England area. So I am making one student a scarf. And this was after going back and forth for, it feels like months, but it's only been a few weeks, about what pattern to make, because my student that I'm making the black scarf for had said she wanted something either in black or orange. And so let me see if I have a skein of yarn. No, I don't. So she picked out this skein of yarn. It's Heartland's yarn, which is a worsted weight yarn, 100% acrylic. You get about 297 yards of yarn, if I remember correctly. And it's actually really good workhorse yarn if you're looking for something that's a gift knit or a baby's blanket, or even just like a house blanket or something that's part of decor. It is really good to go to. And I actually think it was a good yarn to use to make a garment as well, especially if you're someone that doesn't have like internal body heat issues. Me personally, I don't do well in garments that are made with acrylic yarn. I always end up having a horrible hot flash, but there's just some things I worked up in acrylic that I just don't want to get rid of. But anywho, she picked out that yarn, but the pattern that she selected was a fingering weight yarn. It's a pattern by Jessie May called the Mini Mock Tee, and it's a pattern I've seen several times. I know Nitty Natty had it worked up in her collection of patterns. I was like, oh my God, that's kind of cute. So when I suggested a pattern, because I gave them a list of patterns, I gave them a hat option, a scarf option, and a top option, because I wanted to do something quick. This Jessie May pattern, although really well written, has been kicking my butt. I have tried 4 different times to make it. I tried it with the Sorello yarn I purchased, didn't work out. I don't know why. Got gauged, the whole 9 yards, still had to struggle with it. Tried it with a sport weight yarn, a Bravo sport weight from Knit Pick, epic fail. Then I tried it with, then I tried it again with another fingering weight yarn, and it just did not work. And after the 4th time of trying it with a different yarn, I just realized that me and this pattern just not compatible right now. Don't even try, because it's stressing me out and it's making me hate the idea of making something for someone who I genuinely care about and I want to see her happy. So I told her that I was having some trouble getting the fabric gauge that I wanted and the fabric that I wanted, and that if she would consider another pattern. So then she reached back out to me saying that she was in the middle of buying this oversized black scarf. So I could make her something like that, she would greatly appreciate it. I was like, well, she's like, it doesn't have to be just like this. Can you see it? So I asked her to email it to me. Yo, when she sent this to me, I could not believe it. It was identical to this scarf. And when I saw that, I was like, done. You don't need to say anymore. I'll take care of that. So at home, obviously, I have black yarn. Not a lot of black yarn, because if you're a knitter or crocheter, you know that black yarn, for whatever reason, is hard to find. It's quite in excess when you don't need it, but when you need black yarn or you want black yarn, I can't find it. So I ran into that dilemma. So at home, let me see if I can reach it. At home, I have Drops Brush Alpaca in the color black. Obviously, the color number is, because Drops, they always use numbers and whatnot, but if you never use Drops, I highly recommend it. There's I shouldn't say highly recommend it. I recommend it if you're looking for an inexpensive yet somewhat luxurious yarn. I feel like it's like right in between. It's really a good yarn to like substitute something for like Rowan, or for Sandusgarn, or that other really not as accessible nor German yarn. There are hesitations. There's rumors about how they treat some of their pattern designers, that they don't compensate them as well as they should. And so I don't know that full information, so I can't attest to that or whatnot. But what I do know is that if you are looking for something a bit inexpensive that still can give you some of those luxurious fabrics that you're looking for, this may be a good alternative for you. Wool Warehouse usually has this amazing quantity of their yarn. And when I was initially joining the whole knitting world, I had bought a Kim Hargraves pattern book, which is another story for another day, and bought a too much yarn, again, excess. And so I had this yarn, forgetting why I bought it and what pattern I bought it for. And I was like, oh, I'll make her scarf out of this. And I was going to hold it double with this wool-like yarn that I got from Michaels. I got this about 2, maybe 3 years ago. Again, for a Kim Hargraves pattern, most likely a little over 2 years ago. So I purchased both yarns with the goal of using them from Kim Hargraves. That didn't work out. So I was like, oh, I'll use it for Yasmin's sweater. I started knitting this thing, and it looked like a puppy. You know those little puppies that you get, little stuffies that you get or whatnot. That's what the whole component. You couldn't see a garter stitch to save your life. And it didn't matter if I went up a needle size, went down a needle size, there was no stitch definition whatsoever. It was so matted looking. I'm like, what did I do wrong? And so, because initially you could see the stitch when I first started it, but as I worked with it, and I guess as my hands were rubbing against it, it became more matted, and it just did not look good. So I looked around my room, and naturally I didn't have any yarn that was in the color that she was requesting that would meet the gauge that I needed for this chunky garter stitch scarf. So when I was feeling slightly better, I went to Joann's on Black Friday, and I was determined just to get some hand soap, because for some reason Joann's has some really cute, nicely, it comes in these nice little cute little containers, and they're usually really nicely scented and inexpensive hand soaps I like to get for the holidays. And last time I was there, I got a really great candle. So I thought like I would get a candle, which I did get while I was at Joann's. Here it is. Uh-oh, I blew one of the things out. Let me just light this back up. So this was all I was supposed to get. And I'm like, well, since I'm here, I might as well just check and see if there's any yarn that might meet my needs that I have, because I don't have an excessive amount of Joann fabric yarn. And naturally they did. So whenever I'm in Joann's, I tend to go up and down the aisle, then loop around again and go up and down the aisle, then loop around one more time. And then after the third time is when I actually will commit. And as I'm looping, I will pick up things here and there. And if I see something better that I want, then I will loop back down the aisle and put it back. Because I'm not that person that will pick up yarn and leave it. I actually put it back or whatnot. Or I will just buy it. So I picked up 4 different yarns, and ended up putting back 2 out of the 4. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this. And then I randomly on my next loop saw this, Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick. And with this particular skein of yarn, this is the color black. You get, let me just tell you exactly, you get 106 yards for every 170 grams, which is 97 meters. It's considered to be super bulky, and you're supposed to use 9mm needles or a 9mm crochet hook, which is a US 13. Now, the yarn, or excuse me, the pattern that I saw that she had selected, which again, I hope I can insert a picture of it, looked to be very oversized, and I knew that I would need to use a needle at least of a 10mm, which I guess is a US 14. And I've had these Chagu Forte for a year now. It will be a year this month, I believe. I think I got it last November. And I have only used the needles on the first page. I have attempted to use the 5mm, excuse me, the 5.5 and the 6mm, but ended up not making anything with that, because even my ranunculus that I had made, I ended up going down in needle size. So anywho, I wanted to try using it in the needles in a bigger size. And I actually have been enjoying my knitting experience so far with the oversized, because previously when I've used chunkier needles, I found that my hands tend to get cramped and the experience just isn't pleasant. But with these, I have noticed that there was no fatigue. I actually knitted all this within 4 hours. And I know it's chunky yarn, so of course it's going to knit up faster, which is another pleasure. And I had stopped here, and this is a little, I got this accessory from, oh gosh, it's the store that's affiliated with Kim and Jonna. If I remember, I will again put that in the description link. I got to write those things down. But anywho, I got this going, and when I saw the fabric it was making, I was like, yes. But I only bought 2 skeins of yarn, thinking I wouldn't like it. I was going to color change it and whatnot. I'm like, why am I deviating from the course? This young woman has asked for a black scarf. Why am I trying to add my colors that I want to it? Because I'm a big fan of gray and white or whatnot. So with that said, I went to Joann's to buy more. It was all gone. So then I went on Amazon to buy it. They only had black walnut. So I bought it thinking that maybe it's not as contrasty as I might think it was. When I got it, I was like, nope, this is not going to work. It looks like a completely different color, and it would take off the whole aesthetic. So there's another Joann's about 15-20 minutes from my home. Luckily, they still had this in stock. They only had a few. So I ended up buying 2 more and was able to continue on. So I hope by the end of this, there will be 4 skeins of yarn with it. The goal is to make it at least 4 feet long. And right now I'm about 2.5. I'm probably longer than that. But I'm enjoying it, and I'm curious how it's going to turn out. I'm ready to give it to her now, but I did promise myself that I will wait. So this is making positive progress, and we'll see her reaction in a few weeks. The next project I wanted to talk about that I'm obsessing with is my the Weekender Light. So I'm told everyone about my Rhinebeck experience. I thought my local yarn store day experience was incredible, which it was. And I'm not going to gush about that because people have heard me talk about that more than they care to. But I went to Rhinebeck and had an incredible time. My sister-in-law came with me. And while we were there, she got caught up in the hype too. And so she too bought a sweater quantity of yarn. And she bought this Cozy Color Works. This is a hand-dyed superwash yarn. There's 550 yards of yarn that's fingering weight, and it's only $32. Now, initially, when I saw the amount of yardage that she got, I was impressed by that, because I found that with most fingering weight yarns that I've been purchasing, especially hand-dyed, they're only up to like 460. So to get that much yarn for 550, I was like, oh, this is really great. But as I've been working with it, I've noticed that it's more lace weight than fingering weight. So again, I know the lighting's terrible and you're not really seeing this. You know, maybe I'll get up and see if I can get another light on. How's that for size? Does that make it a little bit better? A little. Okay, so I started this, and I'm gonna just, nope. Anyhow, I'm trying to adjust the lighting. I started this and I didn't like the fabric. And as I was knitting this, I was like, something feels right. This felt cheap and just like, I'm like, nope, nope, nope. I liked the colorway. Like the colors are just gorgeous. I'm liking how they appear, but the fabric that it's making is not meeting my fancy. So I don't know if it's also the knitting needles I'm using because I'm not using my chagu because at the time the 3.5 were already in another project. So I was like, oh, I'm not gonna, uh, I'll just use my kabaz because I've used them in the past. And no, just wasn't, it just wasn't coming out the way I wanted. So I redid a swatch um, with the silk alpaca, um, no, the brush alpaca that I had from drops. And I found that I did like that, but it was a bit fuzzier than what I had hoped for. So I went digging through my stash and like, here's the swatch. And with this pattern, this is an Andrea Mari's Weekender Light. So you're not going with the traditional stockinette, you're going with the back side of it. And so it's a really well written, easy pattern, really enjoying it. And I decided that I want to make this up and I want to do it right. So I was going to use this Drops Brush Alpaca, but I found that it wasn't giving me the same matted look that I had with the previous pattern. The issue is that you were losing the colorway, and that was the thing that she and I really liked. And so I bought this yarn, Host Garn yarn, and this is their, I think this is called Titanium. It's their alpaca yarn. It's a lace weight yarn. And you get a nice yardage with it. I'm sorry I lost the tags on these because they come off very easily. I'm hoping that one was in a bag, but I don't feel one in here. But with this yarn in itself that I like so much is that, oh, perfect, I found one. Yes, it's called, maybe it's not, it's called Tati Kaka. That is probably not how you say it. Oh my goodness. Here, I want to move. There you go. There's a name. Those of you who know how to pronounce, you can tell me in the comments. But this is 100% pure thin alpaca. And for every 50 grams, you get 400 meters of yarn. And so this is a lace weight and I'm holding it together. And I found that with this particular yarn, it actually allows me to see the colors. And that's what attracted both of us to it. So yes, the brush is really nice and it's beautiful. And yes, you can somewhat see the color dye, but I feel like more attention goes to the brush alpaca than the yarn in itself. And that was not the purpose of it. And given the fact that this is going to be inside out is another reason. So I don't know. I'm going to give the swatch to my sister-in-law and let her pick which version she likes the most, and then we'll go from there. I'm hoping to stop by her job and give that to her, and we'll see. So I'm working on the Weekender Light, kinda. I'm still working on the gift black sweater. I did have another gift knit that I was giving my student. Again, another mini mock tank. That was another epic fail. So she mentioned to me very randomly that she also likes to knit. And I got this epiphany. Why don't I make her a knitted hat? I have the Sorrento machine and I purchased it because I like to make charitable knits from time to time, the little hats. And so I can whip them up a lot faster than I can hand knit. I still hand knit a few and throw them in there as well. Sometimes more of the more intricate designs, but anything that's like straight up stockinette, that's like a version of a Musselburgh hat is what I do there. And I want to make a Musselburgh hat. I am going to make one day, but for right now, my Sorrento is my alternative to Musselburgh until I'm ready to make it. So I made her this on my Sorrento machine and it came out so beautiful and I love it so much. It fits so nicely. And this is the yarn. This is that was Knit Picks Brava Sport Weight, and it's 100% acrylic. I decided that I was going to give all my gift knits more acrylic yarn because they're all going off to college, and I don't know if you've ever lived away from home, but you know that the washing machine situation can be a little challenging, and so I wanted to make it life as easier as possible for them. And in addition, since she is a knitter, I bought her a book. So Veronica Lindbergh wrote a book called Knit This. And so I printed it out for my student, and I'm giving her the copy of it. I'm giving her the book. And so she'll have this, and I put a little piece of candy in there because I know that sometimes when you get like, you know, yarn stuff in the mail, you sometimes have a piece of candy. So I have a little piece of candy. I'm giving her a pair of needles. This is Lantern Moon ebony 4mm needles. I have a little, oh my God, cord. Can't get the words. And in addition to a cord, I have some cute little stitch markers in there that are also detachable. I have her fixed pin, and I have a row counter in there too. And I got her some tape. So I think she's going to like it. And I figured this is a nice little knit kit. Not that she necessarily needs one, but I thought that she might enjoy it. And I'm giving her this bag. Yeah, I got this while I was at Rhinebeck, and I bought 2 of those, and I have it in red as well. And red is also my favorite color in addition to purple, and purple's her color as well. So I can share. I'm not the best sharer, but I can definitely share that. So that is my gift knits that I feel like I have an excessive amount with. The final gift knit I have that I am so sick of working on is Simon Funny. And it deserves its own video recap of me talking about how I am over this project, but I'm so close to getting done. Excuse me. So close. So in August, one of my homies, who's like a brother from another mother, made a request for a cardigan because he saw me knitting on the stripe hype dress, which I love. I've gotten mad compliments on, so I'm like, yay, you know. And I was really feeling myself after making that particular garment because it did come out quite nicely. So he was like, oh, make me a cardigan. I was like, of course I can make you a cardigan. I can make one in a month, because I made a cable cardigan that was pretty much mostly stockinette, except for when you were cabling, and it was massive cables, and so you only crossed your stitches like once every 12 rows or something like that. So needless to say, I thought I could knit this particular sweater just as quickly as I did that, but for whatever reason, this beast of a sweater is like, nope. And so I finally finished the body, which, looking at it, makes me think like it's too small. But I have to remember 2 things. One, the person I'm knitting this for is much shorter than me. He's about 4.5 inches shorter than I am. So that's number 1. And so the length of this is not going to be the same length on his body. So it is 20, the pattern calls for it to be 21 inches one for the finished body, and I'm at 20.5. And the thing is, with this particular yarn, it's actually going to grow. I've used this exact yarn when I made another cardigan that was supposed to be more of a duster. And then once I blocked it, it grew massively. And so what was supposed to be at her hips ended up being almost at her thighs. And so I didn't want that same situation. Now that worked out for her, but this is intended to be a male cardigan, and he dresses pretty traditional as most men do. So I am trying to maintain the length. I wanted to be like a length of like a Mr. Rogers cardigan, because that's my show. I used to love Mr. Rogers. But anywho, it's coming along really well. I finished one sleeve. I got the body done. I'm on the second sleeve. And I know if I work on this diligently between now and Wednesday, I can successfully finish the sleeve and then the pockets. So with the pockets, I thought it was just going to be a simple stockinette in the round, call it a day. But no, it has all different type of things that you got to do in the pattern, then in stockinette, then back in the pattern, and sewing things together. And I'm like, why can't you just do this one simple thing? But I'm going to follow the pattern instructions, because this cardigan has been frogged more times than any other garment I have ever made before in my entire life. Not that I've been knitting that long, but still, I have had to frog it. I've had to undo quite a few rows and go back and redo them again. I've had to take a break because it brought me to tears. Legit, straight on cry fest right here in his chair, right here in his room, crying my eyes out over a knitting pattern. Seriously. But I'm pleased to say it is definitely coming along really well. And I'm glad I did go back and fix those mistakes. I'm glad I did frog it those multiple times because I am much more proud of this particular garment than what I was initially going to give my friend. So, in addition to helping me along to keep the momentum, I'm using a stitch marker to keep track my progress. And this past weekend or last weekend, my dates are a little off because I've been at home sick in a bed. And there's nothing to do when you're bedridden but to watch movies, read books, sleep, and drink lots of fluid and to knit or crochet. And so while I was bedridden, I definitely went onto the social media because I finished 2 audiobooks, read a book, tried to take a nap, but my sons made it clear that that wasn't happening. And so I'm on social media and I see that there were several podcasters who was promoting this list of vendors who were negatively impacted by the implementation of Will and Folk. And so to show your support, you can go onto the vendor's website or Etsy site or something to offer to then look through their products and then buy their items because many of them were still had stuff that they had planned to sell during that particular weekend in stock. So while I was on Needles at the Ready, they had the web link and I was like, oh, let me check it out because they were talking about Woolens and Nosh. And Woolens and Nosh was pretty dope. I found this yarn that I'm super excited about. This yarn is called, it's a high twist DK. It's called Fancy Smancy Pumpkin Remix. And so I can definitely see myself either making a hat or a pair of socks with this as well. And this particular skein of yarn has 243 yards for every 100 grams. And as I said before, it's superwash merino, which you can dry. So I had such a fun time buying this. I was like, you know what? Let me see if there's others that I want to offer support because in addition to supporting small Black-owned businesses, I also try to support small businesses, especially those who are typically marginalized. And so while I was perusing through, I came across one small business that will continue to get my business, and it's called Yarn Cafe. Yarn Cafe Creations, I think, is the full name of the company. So when I opened the shipping package, this popped out and I was like, what? And apparently they've been in existence since 2016. And yo, this yarn is so soft. So this particular skein of yarn is called Mermaid Martini. It's an espresso fingering. It's 100% superwash wool, 437 yards. It's 4-ply yarn. Their other 4-ply yarn, which is called Snowball, which is in their Cafe Outlet fingering. This is again 100% superwash wool, but this is a Polworth wool. I never used this before, so I'm curious. With this particular wool, you get 437 yards and 100 grams, and again, as it's 4-ply. So I have these two, and I'm like, what else do they have on there? Because now I'm kind of getting into accessories, and they had a little Harry Potter. There we go. Little Harry Potter progress keepers. And I'm a big fan of Harry Potter. That particular storyline actually bonded me with several young women who I still in close contact. One of whom is the godmother of both my sons and married my husband and I. So she's near and dear in my heart. So we watched all the movies, we read the books together, and we even went to the pop-up museum for Harry Potter. So we're huge fans. So with that said, I was thinking about her when I decided to buy that. So I'm hoping to give her the other progress keeper, even though she doesn't knit or crochet. I thought that she can use it for some little charm or whatnot. I'm sure she'll find something useful for it. So I'm using this progress keeper in hopes that it will keep me motivated to work on this sleeve. Because I've never had a problem with sleeves before. And I shouldn't say never, but I'm not one of those that fall victim to Sleeve Island. but now I understand. So whatever judgment I have is now out the door, and I am zeroed in on the fact that it is a son of a biscuit sometimes when you are trying to knit up something that you just do not want to ever see again on your needles. I have learned so much from this project. I've learned that it's okay to restart multiple times. I learned that it's okay to become emotionally invested in a product. And I've learned that it's okay to take a break and come back to it when you are more mentally sound. So, yeah. Me and this, I'm just going to put this to the side again. Another project that is in hibernation is my tessellated vest. This weekend, Andrew Amari had a knit along, which was called the tessellated socks, which I immediately went and purchased because I've loved knitting on this tessellated vest, even though I had made very minimum progress. So here's what I got so far on my vest. I know this is a bottom up vest that you're using fingering weight throughout, and you have three different yarns in order to make this mosaic pattern. And for me, I decided to use the La Binet Surrey alpaca yarn. I don't have the, or maybe I do. Oh, look at me. But I have the La Binet Surrey alpaca, which is about 74%. If I remember correctly, Surrey alpaca is 74%, and the rest of it is silk. And I'm also using Spin Cycle, and the colorway that I'm using is called Close Call. And what I like so much about that one is that there's so much yellow. For me, I wanted to make a vest that was more blue and gold, that had little specks of white to it, and this fit the bill. And when I saw the colorway that I got from Spin Cycle, I was like, gosh, that reminds me of my Surrey alpaca, because I know the lighting is a little poor, so I'm going to try to, oh, look at that beautiful chocolate skin, just make it come out. So as you can see, it has this little golden tip, little yellow. It fades from gold to yellow, and then it goes gray, and then it goes to yellow to gold, then gray, and then it has little specks of orange to it. So the color on the Surrey alpaca is just as vibrant as the Spin Cycle. So when I'm just like, I have to use all three, and it's been such a wonderful knitting experience. The unfortunate part is that I've had other projects that have called my attention, saying that you need to work on me because you promise these people that you will be giving them something. You can't work on something for yourself, which helps me follow along with my next conversation. So with this particular pattern, I spent hours or more obsessing on what the colorway would be, and I was really excited when I finally chose one. And I wish I just put more focus on this, because I did put this down in order to work on projects for other folks, because I really wanted to wear this to Rhinebeck, but that's okay. I'll just wear it to Rhinebeck next year. And I'm perfectly happy with that. Or I might wear it on a local yarn store day. Who knows? But this is my tessellated vest. I am going to make the tessellated socks. That, when, I don't know. I'm actually really am excited to make that particular pattern, because I notice that it is using an afterthought heel, and I've never knitted a pair of socks with an afterthought heel before. Every pair of socks I've knitted so far, it's called for a heel flap and gusset, and I don't really like them too much. I think I always struggle with the heel flap. I have yet to do one successfully, so that might be why. I need to make more socks. I've only made four pairs of socks. So that might be one of the reasons why I'm not really feeling it as much. But my hope is that when I'm done with all my gift knits, that I can spend some quality time. My hope is really to do some little gift knitting for myself come December. But you know how it is. You get other ideas and you don't do it. And besides, I don't even know what colorway I want to do for my tessellated socks. So that's one of the reasons why I am not in a big hurry to get those pair of socks done, because this pattern is definitely not one that you can whip up within like a couple of weeks. It definitely takes more time than I care to admit, especially if you're someone that, like myself, who gets easily distracted by the numerous projects that you have all around your craft room that you just want to put your fingers on. So this is my tessellated vest that is in hibernation. I take it out every once in a while. Another pattern that I'm not going to even walk over in to go get that's in hibernation is my Cloud Peak cardigan. I have successfully joined the body together, and I'm increasing right now, and the goal for that particular pattern is to finish the increase for the yoke, and then once it's done, I'm going to go ahead and steek it. So I'm going to continue to go in and round, and then I'm going to steek it at the end because I have an excessive amount of yarn, and so because I have so much, it's a perfect project to get my steek on. I have steeked one other time. That was completely by accident. I was knitting away on what I was hoping to be my first full-length black cardigan, and knit, didn't realize that I was supposed to, I kept going when I was supposed to turn, and ended up going in around multiple times. I think it was on like round 12 when I finally realized that. The problem was I was caught up in a conversation with one of my peers, having a good old time, just chit-chatting, not realizing that I did that. So I paused looking at it. I'm like, I have two options. I can unravel all of this, and at the time I was making it with like a brush alpaca yarn, so it doesn't unravel. It didn't unravel very well because I had already made a mistake and found that it was a struggle. So I decided just to kind of keep going and to see what happens. So I kept going and I steeked it, and it came out really well. So it's a technique I used in the past, and I'm hoping that I can find success with it. I'm going to watch the videos on how to steek it, making sure that I have enough rows in between. I think I'm going to lean between 10 to 12, so that way it can be plenty to fold in. And I have a little hand sewing machine to help me reinforce the stitches, but I'm gonna continue to watch my YouTube tutorials to help me with that. So that's my other project. I mentioned that made a whole bunch of hats on the Sorrento. I'm actually going to show you. Bam. I don't know if you see it over there. You might also see another acquisition I have. So I talked to you. Yep. I talked to you about all those. I had told myself after October 31st, I would not buy any more yarn, which I haven't until Black Friday. And small business on Saturday, and I obviously purchased some today because I'm trying to finish the scarf. My hope or expectation I'm setting for myself is that unless I need the yarn in order to finish a project, I am not going to initiate the purchase of yarn. So for example, I really like this yarn colorway made by Needles at the Ready that's called It's Fall Y'all. And when I saw that, I immediately saw that as a raglan lightweight sweater, and I just need one more skein in order to make that particular pattern come to light. Two would be preferable, but one will do. And fortunately, he dyed up another batch of it, so I went ahead and bought 2 skeins of that, which is on its way right now. So I will be able to make a raglan sweater. Which one, I'm not 100% sure. I'm leaning towards the cinema sweater, or I might do the gingerbread sweater by oh gosh, the name escapes me. It's a free pattern on Ravelry by Espasico. I think that's the name of the yarn store. So it's like a Canadian yarn store that also produces free patterns. But anywho, love their patterns. I've really been wanting to make that one. I actually started one of their patterns a few months ago, but ended up frogging the project because I needed the yarn for something else. So I haven't, all the yarn that I am getting is either from my previous purchases where I was trying to support, or from my birthday purchases. So Magpie Fibers has this Celestial collection, and this is their Celestial celebration for 2023, and this is their Advent. And in this Advent calendar is your countdown to the winter solstice celebration, starting on December 1st and going up to December 21st, with one surprise each day. And it includes each box which is amazing me. 12 mini skeins, one full skein, 8 gifts from Magpie, one knitting pattern download, and one crochet pattern download. So you get 3 different boxes that have the same experience in it, and I'm so curious. I cannot wait to open it up, but I have to wait until December 1st, and so when I come home on Friday, December 1st, that's what I'm going to be doing. I really am looking forward to that first opening or unboxing, because this is my first Advent and I never had one before, so it brought me so much joy. Another acquisition I have, in order to finish a pattern, I'm doing the Solari pullover by Hoagie Locatelli, and I've been planning and trying to do that project for a good 3 or 4 weeks now, but either I didn't have enough yarn or time or hands in order to get it done. And as I was looking at it, I really wanted to do something intricate with the top, because I wanted to make a really nice going out sweater, like whether I'm going to a semi-formal event at work or if I'm going to a semi-formal event with my spouse. I wanted to do something sparkly. And so I went on to Woolen Company, and I found that they have this beautiful sequence yarn that I can use. This is by Lang. So I have these 2 different colors. And I haven't quite decided if I'm going with the black and silver one or the confetti, but we'll see which one I'll end up using, because the sweater I'm going to be making it with the Wool Folk yarn, Far. I love this yarn. I've been super excited I've knitted a hat with this, and it was incredible. I knitted the Jason Cashmere hat, as a matter of fact, and I loved every second of it. But you get 142 yards, which is about 50 grams for every 50 grams, which is about 130 meters. And with this, you're supposed to hand wash it cool. The colorway that I have in front of me is color 15, and I don't have a lot of black sweaters. And so again, every time I see black yarn, I buy it. So right now I have 5 skeins of this, and I have actually 7 now. And so every other month I will go into Gather Here, which is a yarn store local to my job, and I will buy a skein of yarn from there. And I really am excited about knitting this particular item, and I'm hoping that that would be my Christmas knit to myself as well. And what else did I want to share? I think that's it. So just to recap, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video was to talk about excess. I have ooh, that killed my eyes for a second. I have a significant amount of yarn. I have done various reels on Instagram about the amount of yarn that I have that is still coming in. And how can I say this? I have always felt guilty about doing anything for myself, whether it's buying a lot of books because I love to read, or if it's buying movies because I love to watch movies, or even buying flowers for myself. I've always felt some form of guilt about it. Well, yarn is my form of therapy. And I today I was giving another reminder of how much peace of mind that my excessive yarn has, because a few years ago, my cousin, who was like a sister to me, died in a car accident, and that has had an impact on my life as well as her own children and other members of our family. And every time I see some version of a car accident, I immediately have this extreme reaction to it. And this evening was no different. This evening, as I was driving home, actually from Joann's, I sorry, got to get myself together. I had saw that there was traffic on the exit to my house, and I was like, oh man, what happened now? Who got pulled over for driving in? Crazy, because sometimes on the road that I live off of towards my house, people tend to drive quite quickly because it is a nice straight road and it's inviting to speed down, especially if there's no traffic. But anyway, this person who was driving unfortunately lost control of their car, and it ended up in the little shopping plaza that's near our home. And when I saw the car and I saw the people gawking, and I saw the potential harm and the fire trucks and the police, and it just made me think of my cousin, and it made me think of the fact that she went through such a horrible experience and in this fatal accident, and she had all these gawkers staring at the mingle because they were in awe of it, and it made me angry. It made me sad, that this person's tragedy is now someone's entertainment at the moment. And I started crying hysterically. And the only thing I could think was, I want to get in the house. I just need to get in the house. So I got in the house. I got myself together. I gave my babies a hug, put them to bed. I gave my spouse a hug, put him in front of football, and had another moment to myself where I cried. But then I sat down with my yarn to process. And I was able to put on my little knitting lamp. If you don't have one of these, I recommend whatever brand meets your fancy, just get one. But I put that around my neck. I put on, I put on a podcast, and I started knitting away, and I felt my spirit calm down, and I felt a peace come over me that I was seeking. And so I know that there's a lot of judgment about what we do and how we do things, that this is supposedly what grandma does and what lonely people do. And I'm not lonely. I'm not a grandmother. I am someone who sincerely loves fiber, and I love what I'm able to make. And everyone is entitled to finding their joy, whether it is through the art of knitting and crochet, or if it's painting or reading or writing, whatever. We shouldn't A, pass judgment, but B, people should be given a space or an outlet to process. And so I wanted to end by stating I am very grateful that I have this outlet, and that I can share my outlet or my experience with this outlet with various people on social media, because there are others out there who have the same obsession, and I enjoy listening to their stories and their testimonies, and as well as their current projects too. So thank you for taking the time out your busy schedules to listen to my rambles about what I'm working on, why I'm working on the project, and who I'm hoping to get the project for. Continue to be impressed by my beautiful, well, it's not going to be mine for long, scarf I'm making for my student. And I hope that you have something amazing on your hook or your needles, and that you are just enjoying your fibers, that you're in someplace warm and cozy, and just enjoying all the fallness as we are about to embark on the winter season. These cold weather months are my favorite months because I can wear my boots, I can take out my needles, take out my yarn, and let's go. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for a future episode. Hopefully, I will be filming back to my normal schedule on Fridays, but I just really wanted just to share with you about the beauty of excess and how it can give you a peace of mind. Thank you.